Everything that we do, we create.
Hey, folks. How you doing, Darius?
I am doing phenomenal. How are you, Dr. Denise?
Well, I'm feeling just like a miracle today.
Hey, well, you know you're looking like a miracle too. So,
Thank you. I am. I'm a walking, talking miracle. But
yeah.
let's just take a minute to welcome folks to Provoking Thought and Seeking Truth. How are you all
Welcome.
seekers doing out there? And how are you all having your thoughts provoked by
Mm,
the conversation that's kind of spewing from us?
yeah. Well, hello,
Yeah.
everyone. Welcome. Welcome back. Glad that you're here with us. It's always exciting. I say this all the time, Denise, but it's always exciting for me. I always learn something as well from all of this, from these conversations. I think it just sparks the creativity and the thought process. So it gives us something different that we don't get on a normal basis. So,
Yeah, like a bunch of ruminating. I, but that's okay. I call them aha experiences.
yeah,
It's
we
like,
have those.
yeah, it's like little gems of truth all the time. It's, I just notice more things,
Right. It
you
brings your
know?
awareness, brings you into more of your awareness of what's going on around you and what's right there though. That's the interesting part. A lot of it is just right in front of you and we just don't even notice it.
Yeah, I think the more knowledge you gain and the or should I say the more you're reminded,
Hmm.
right? The more aware you become of things and you kind of grow, you kind of grow with it. So
Hmm.
I'm having fun doing this. So
Oh
thank
yeah,
you,
me too.
Darius, for joining me.
Of
Yeah. And you know
course.
what? I get messages from people, and you were talking about how you see people and they tell you that they've watched the podcast, right?
Hmm.
And so my question to you all, if you're really listening, hear me, right? Press that subscribe button,
Yes.
hit the likes, hit the notification bell, and share
Yes.
and comment. We'd love to hear feedback from you because my text messages, I don't want to take your words and from my text messages and put them in the comments. So we're inviting you all to comment and to actually participate. And
Yes.
we will
Interact with
respond to
us.
you. Yeah, be
Yes.
with us. Yeah, and help change the algorithm to this
I
podcast
know.
too. Yeah, because that
It,
helps.
it
You know,
definitely helps.
I've had people search for us, PTST, and they say all they get is PTSD.
Hmm. I
And
heard
I
that
said,
too.
yeah, post traumatic stress disorder. And I said, yeah, I said, because we're not coming up in the algorithms. And the way the algorithms are set up is to give us a bunch of trauma.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm looking for provoking thought and seeking truth. And I
Yeah.
type that in and I get PTSD.
Yeah. I get a
How
bunch
to
of trauma.
overcome, yeah, all the trauma. We don't want to do that today. We want
Nope.
to talk about inspiration and joy
Yes. And peace.
and peace and harmony.
Mm. Yes.
So, but I think today we're going to talk about miracles.
Well, we are all a walking, talking, living miracle. So I think we should talk about that.
Well, I'm ready to go.
Let's go.
Okay. Yeah. And can I tell a short little story before we start?
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Go.
My heater just came on in here.
Nope,
Can you
you're
hear me
fine.
all right? Okay.
Yep.
All right. So this miracle thing. Back in 1978, I gave birth to a beautiful little daughter. All right. And I was terrified. The thought of being a mother, being um, the caretaker of this little tiny thing, right? And I was out in California all by myself, 3,000 miles away from my family and friends and whatnot. And I said, oh, what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I looked at her and I was playing with her, right? I had her in my lap. And I put my finger out, my little pinky, and she wrapped her fingers around my pinky, right? I tickled the bottom of her toes. I played with her little piggy toes, and she smiled and did a little reflex, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I did like this, and her eyes followed me, right? And then I did a little, a little coochie coochie, and she kind of giggled. She smiled, right? And I thought, this came out of me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And even when she cried and pooped and all that other stuff, it's like she's taking in and she's putting out, right? And I
Uh-huh.
started, I started to see her in that light, right? And then it dawned on me, it's like, wait a minute, I'm looking at her as a miracle. I'll be damned, I must be a miracle too,
Mm.
right? I just had to connect the dot. It's like, she's a miracle. I gave birth to this miracle. My mother gave birth to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I must be a miracle. And so I started visualizing, how my mind goes rampant, kind of sort of thing, right? And I thought about how she came into being, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in my mind's eye, I saw this sperm and this egg,
Oh
right?
wow.
Kind kind of having this collision, right?
Right, right.
And then my mind just went to what happens after that, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it just made me probe even more. And so I went to this little book and found this picture of an amoeba, right? The
Oh wow.
cell,
Mm-hmm.
actual cell now that develops once the sperm and the egg have the creation or the collision.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked inside that daggone amoeba and I said, I'll be damned. Look at this is the central nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
right? The central nervous system, which is that brain. See that brain behind you, Darius?
Yep.
Yeah, it's the brain. And then out of that brain stem comes the spinal cord. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the very first thing that develops. And I said, wow, this is very interesting, right? So after the show last episode,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about the book that you wrote for us in 7 minutes. Remember, I said, damn, you just wrote a book,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yeah.
started thinking about that. And I said, that's exactly what Darius was talking about. He was talking about the brain and the spinal cord, right?
Yeah.
And I said, this is where it all begins, right? And then I
Mm-hmm.
remembered something else that you said, Darius. a while back. I don't remember if it's in your book or not, but I know that we talked about it. We talked about how we think in pictures.
Yep, we do, not words. We
No,
think in pictures.
right. Because when we're communicating with someone via words, they only pick up 7% of what's actually being said.
Right.
So then that led me to search images and pictures.
Yeah.
Right? It,
It drives the point home a little better.
yeah, yeah. So we're going to do a little bit of a picture story for you guys so that hopefully you can begin to think of yourselves as miracles.
Well, and see yourselves as a miracle.
Right.
A
It's
little
like,
deeper.
yeah, a little deeper. It's like, let's go beneath the ice cap,
Right. And
right?
see, one of the things, that I think is really key to, what we're sharing and how we're doing this is that what we're going to show, right? And we talk about, the nervous system and you're talking about the brain and the spinal cord. So much of that is played down. It's so played down, like it's not the miracle that it is. Like we are not the phenomenal beings that we are. It's so played down that we don't even really look at it to the level and give it the level of admiration that it deserves and the level of awe that it deserves.
The
A
value.
value. Yes. It's just so played down that we don't even really think about it to the level of this is actually amazing how this works.
How we work.
How we work. Exactly.
Right.
How
Yeah.
we work as a being, this avatar that we're in, how it works, how
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
functions.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to show you that via pictures and have some fun with it. And we're going to ooh and oh, and aha. And maybe we'll spark something in you so that you see yourself as being the bomb.
Yep, because you are.
Yes,
Let's
indeed.
talk.
You're miracles.
Let's start with this one here.
All right, what you got for us?
Let's start here.
Ooh,
So
ooh,
this was just let's go back to your story that you were
that's
having about
Aquila.
Aquila. Let's go back and talk about Aquila a little bit more. There we go.
Okay.
So
All
what we
right.
got here?
Well, this is what develops in that little amoeba that is created from the egg and the sperm colliding. We're not going to get into all the detailed scientific stuff because we just want you to see this as a picture.
Right.
All right. But this is what was growing in my uterus.
Yep.
Right? The brain first, and then the brain had a little tail on it,
Mm.
which was the spinal cord.
Which is the spinal cord.
Yeah, and so I'm imagining this baby growing in my stomach, right? And it's like, wow, I'm just blown away because it's like, you know how you have a replay of things in your mind, the tape plays, and you
Mm-hmm.
reconceptualize it, you change your perception of it,
Mm-hmm.
and we're taught all of this for the most part in some form or fashion, but we're never ever connected to it. It's like the knowledge is external to us. It doesn't
Right.
have anything to do with us.
Yeah, we don't it's like they never make the connection as to the phenomenal process that it is, creating these amazing beings and phenomenal beings that we are. It's never tied together like that. It's like, oh, this is just how it works, and that's it. Never the miracle that it is, and never how we should underestimate. I just think that it's played down so much, we underestimate what we're capable of. So I think showing this and being able to, give people a visualization of really what happens and what's inside of us that we don't see gives us an opportunity to really put more value, like you said, more value on who we are and what we are.
Yeah, our being, our natural being. And the patriarch ignores that. All right. The patriarch values, I mean, there's three ways that you can look at how humanity functions, according to cultural anthropologists. They can see humanity as being thinkers, doers, or just being. Right? The state of being has been ignored. All right. And the focus it has been so much on the doing aspect of who we are.
Yep.
And not even the thinking part of who we are, because that's ignored, because we're told what to think.
Yep.
We're told how to think.
Yep.
Right? We're conditioned, right? And so this part has not been valued or focused on, being part.
Yep.
If I could speak Ebonics and say, I be, right? Yeah. I used to have a professor, and whenever we greeted each other in the hallway, it's like, how you be today? And it's like, I be good, how you be? And we would laugh because we had talked about the fact that our being essence is totally ignored, and everything in our society is focused on doing, right? We're little worker bees.
We are.
Yeah. And so we're conditioned on how to think and then how to do.
Right.
This is what you want to think, and this is what you want to do. It's all external. And so the focus is not, it's not so much on our internal being and the gift that we are. The focus is on the external, how you look. And there's a focus on, there's an emphasis on personal appearance. It makes me go back and think about those studies that were done about those dolls and how kids pick dolls. Remember the doll study? You all remember the doll study. Nobody wanted to look like dolls and so on and so forth. So we're just focused on external, but we got a powerful lot of stuff going on inside of us.
Everybody, though, it's all of us.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how we have been conditioned to believe that the miracle of what's happening internally, right? Like what we're seeing in this picture, it's only certain people that have the gift, let's say. And we really believe that it's not everybody that's been blessed with this phenomenal being and way of being. We all have this. We have this gift. And the conditioning really is powerful because it has gotten us to really move far, far away from really understanding who we be.
Yep.
And who we be.
Exactly. Remember in our very first episode, we did who you be.
Who you be.
Yeah, is not who you think you be. And how we're conditioned to see ourselves in in a certain way. I get so sick and tired of this shit. I'm not gonna cuss about it, but it's like, boy, this is a major cover up.
Oh yeah. And if this is the beauty of what we're doing, this is why I hope all of you guys watching understand and look at what we're actually sharing with you. Not the surface. Let's dig a little deeper. The beauty of all this, Denise, is that once we share this with you and the scales are removed from the eyes and the blinders are removed, you will see things so differently. It's like Neo having the decision to take the red or the blue pill. What are you going to see the matrix for what it is, or are you just going to stay in it and not acknowledge what it is? We're giving you the opportunity to see it for what it is and see yourself for who you really are. So that's the beauty of it, because everybody else wants to cover it up and just say, oh, just do these things. And what's amazing to me is that it always changes. Like, you have these decades or centuries of how the thinking, we talked about this, the worldview, how it just changes, and we just mold to whatever somebody else says this is the focus is now. This is the key. So now it's about social media. So you need to be on social media, and you need to be doing all these things, and you need to take heed to what you see on social media and make that your life. It's like, what? And then, prior to that, it was TV, then we had radio, and it was always a means of how to manipulate the unconscious mind of the person that's not aware of what's going on.
Because it's things are hidden, things are presented to us backwards. Think about if our educational system was reversed, right? And we weren't educated to just to be worker bees. We were educated to understand who we be, to understand our true self.
Mm-hmm.
The magnificence of our origin. From a sperm banging up with an egg, and voila, we get this amoeba with the central nervous system, the brain. This is the computer of us.
Yeah, that's developed first. That's one of the first things that's developed. Understand the significance of that. It's not the last thing. It's the first thing. It's one of the first things, and everything else is built off of that.
Yep. Well, there's another piece to that, which I don't know if we'll get to it. I always say that, Darius, because we've got so much to say.
I know.
But this is what is acknowledged to come after the fact.
Okay.
The true self, the origin. We can be taught all of this, but it's just not valued.
Right.
It's just not conveyed as the miracle that we are.
No. Because we all know what a brain is. We all know what the spinal cord is, and we've heard of the central nervous system, but it's not valued the way it should be.
Well, we don't understand as a big part of how we work.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is bypassed. It's like, just get out there and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just get out there and change your mind. Build this building. It's real interesting. Anyway, Darius, where we're gonna go from here? You know what I want to talk? I want to see a picture of.
What's that?
I want to see a picture of grown folks in this respect. the
Mm,
the central nervous system on the human anatomy,
there you go.
right? So look at this.
Mm-hmm.
The brain and the spinal cord, it goes all the way down. The spinal cord goes all the way down to what's called our root chakra.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so that means though that we have the spinal cord and we have all of this stuff, all of these, they look like little wires,
Mm-hmm.
right? Running off of that spinal cord and that brain. Darius, you want to talk about that? Because this was part of the book that you wrote last episode. This
Well,
is, this is, that's the central nervous system.
I want to get into what really when we start talking about the other nervous system, other part of the nervous system and how it interacts, the peripheral nervous
Okay.
system. But this it just shows the connection that that there is no loose parts here. Let's say, it's like where everything is connected. And a lot of this is I just look at it how the world works, right? How we're here. We're all connected somehow. And everything within this avatar that we're in is connected. And it all connects
Oh,
to the nervous system. It connects to our spinal cord, which is that the casing that protects all of these nerves and disseminates all these nerves to our brain, which actually controls everything. So it controls these functions. Here's the miracle for me when I think about all this is that 95% of what we do for the most part on a daily basis, moment by moment, is unconscious. And this nervous system, this brain that we have, this spinal cord that we have, controls this. So we need to understand how this is actually happening. This is one of the reasons why I studied neuroscience, Denise, because I heard all these cliches and I heard all this mindset, quote unquote, mindset training and everything, but it never talked about how the mind worked, how the brain worked, or anything. I was curious because I figured if I understood how the brain worked, it would make more sense to me, all these things that people say, right? And that I heard. So when I look at this and I think about the brain and how all of this comes together and works together, it really gives me a clearer picture on the control that I actually have on what happens within me. And this is one of
okay.
the things, that is played down. Like you have
Okay.
so much control over what happens with inside of yourself.
Okay. But let's take a step back because you're talking, you want to talk about control
Well,
over
just
his.
the thought of it, the concept of it.
Okay. But let's go back to the being state in terms of what a miracle it is so that we can focus on that before we want to jump up and do. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just it's a big leap um
Right.
to make. So we have the central nervous system, which is the brain and the spinal cord. Then we have another nervous system, which is called the peripheral nervous center. Do we have a better picture of that?
The periphery. Here we go. Let's look at this.
Woo! All right. So now you're talking, Darius, about all of the things that are connected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have this brain and the central nervous system, right? The brain is kind of like the computer, but all these little lines that are running through the body, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's our peripheral nervous system. So it means that it's outside of the central nervous system.
Right.
All right. But the two work together. All of these little lines, all these little veins, right? Or neural pathways are the peripheral nervous system. And you
Yes.
talked last week about
The inputs.
the inputs. All right. But let me remind people that when we're talking about this, we're talking about the five senses only.
Exactly.
All right. We're talking about taste,
Mm-hmm.
smell, touch, hearing, and seeing. Those are the
Yes.
five major central nervous, the five
Senses.
senses. And that's what we're talking about today. We're not talking about anything else. So imagine all of these lines running through the body, and at the end of each one, right, is what you are calling the peripheral, not the peripheral, why can't
Our
I?
input devices.
Yeah, our input devices, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about input, what are we talking about? We got all these little buttons that are called they're called receptor cells.
Yep.
They receive information from our environment.
Outside. From outside.
From outside. We touch something, right? Say your finger. See the little nerves in the hands. We touch something, right? And that touch is received by that nerve, that receptor cell, right? I'm going to use the two words interchangeably. So the touch is received by that little button in your finger, right?
Yep.
All right. That then triggers a whole action, right? Because it's not one little isolated cell,
No.
right? And we're going to show you a picture of the cells and how they connect and everything. But that one cell is connected to another cell, right? Because the touch or the smell or whatever triggers a chemical reaction. All right. And that chemical reaction then does something between those two cells that makes them connect. Does that make sense? So, and these cells connect all the way up through the hand, the forearm, the upper arm, up the shoulder, and to the brain.
Yep. So spinal
And
cord, then to the brain.
Says, oh, I'm feeling something. Is it warm? Is it hot? Is it cold? That's what they mean by our body communicates. We have all of these messages running through our body from these little tabs on our fingertips or wherever that are receptor cells. We receive that stuff.
Yep.
There is an action that occurs. It's called like the action potential, right? And that chemical is released between those cells. I know this is technical, but we're going to show you a picture afterwards. It's going to fire you up. But there's something that happens between the cells that is caused by that. They're called neurotransmitters or chemicals that creates that cell to fire and connect with the next cell. Right?
And
that transmits the message then to your brain. And your brain says, oh, the computer, right? That's hot.
Mm-hmm.
right? So, but the key thing, the fun part for me, Darius, and I know I'm kind of nerdy, but the the fun thing for me is when that cell fires. It's like
Mm-hmm.
ions, positive, negative. That cell fires and connects with the next cell, that connects with the next cell, that connects with the next cell. Those are messages being transmitted through our body to our brain. It's like
Yes.
it's like an electrical action.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, can you imagine cells firing through your body to transmit a message to your brain?
Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
It's like,
That's what it is.
wow. Because I was wondering, it's like when I tickle the bottom of Akila's foot, it's like, how does she know to withdraw her foot or to giggle?
Right. Because those receptors in her foot sent a signal all the way up through her spine to her brain. And see, here's the miracle part of it. This is the part we really need to understand. So I was saying that 95% of what we do is unconscious, right? And that means that we're not consciously thinking of what's happening. So this nervous system has all of these nerve endings, if you want to look at it that way, these receptors. When one thing happens, so many other things are triggered, like you were saying, Denise. So we touch something. So I have this pen. I touch it. So what happens with me touching this pen with my fingers is that I get my nerve endings, the receptors in my fingers are sending a signal to my brain that I'm touching this and what it feels like. But also at the same time, now my brain, because it also holds memory, these cells hold memory. So now my brain is also saying, what is this? And it's deciding what this is based on what I feel. Because I do have sight, I look at it, it's also saying, okay, I feel this. This pen feels this way in my hand. I see it. It looks this way with my eyes. And now I determine what I can do with this and what this is based on memory as well. So all these things are happening unconsciously. This is part of the phenomena that we are and how phenomenal we are. We're having all these things happen at the same time. So there's a saying, and I say this in my book, and I say this all the time. There's a saying, when we talk about the brain and we talk about neurology and everything, is that neurons that fire together wire together. So all of these things that are happening. So I talk about how it feels in my hand, what I see when I look at it. All of these peripheral and input devices are firing at the same time. So now they're all wired. So whenever I think about a pen, my brain automatically says, this is what it feels like. This is what it looks like. This is what I can do with it. This is what it feels. All of those things now are connected the next time I think about this pen.
Exactly. Thank you for breaking that down. Do you see what happens in our body?
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is that these cells fire. How do they fire? It is an electrical action.
Yes.
Action potential. We have enough energy in us, or we have as much energy in this body with all these firing cells that would amount to the energy of a lightning bolt.
Yes.
Don't y'all go out there and try to strike nothing down now. But this is the kind of energy that we have in our body.
Yep.
I mean, just imagine. You know what, Darius? Are you finished talking about this and all
Well,
of the
I want to share one
connections?
more thing. I
All
want to share
right.
one more thing. if we understand how all of this works, then we also need to be very concerned, well, not concerned, but we need to be very aware of our environments and how important our environment is, the environment that we're in, everything outside of us. They try to make it seem like where you live, the area that you're in does not matter in who you are. And it does. It plays a part. Not that you have to become, and we hear this all the time, that people are a product of their environment, right? But you don't have to be a product of your environment. But you need to understand the things that you are seeing, the things that you are touching, that you're hearing, that you're sensing, have a big role in who you become and how you function. Because I just showed you just how the significance of just this pen and what happens with the pen. So if we're thinking about the environment, the neighborhoods that we live in, all these things are important and they're key to becoming who we are. So I just want us to understand that we're looking at this and we got to take this to the level of how is it affecting us every single day? And it affects us every day because if you can change your environment and you can change those inputs that you are getting, it can change the way we think, the decisions that we make, our behaviors, and everything else. So I just want to kind of tie that back in, Denise, so people don't think we're just kind of giving them a biology lesson here. I want you to understand how these things are happening every day, all day, and how we can change who we are and understand how our environment does play a part in how we develop and why.
Okay, so no biology lesson, right? But from a philosophical perspective,
Yes.
all right? We're coming out of an age of non-education where things have not been disclosed, things have been falsified, things have been reconceptualized so that we don't know who we really be and the power that we have.
Right.
Okay, so in provoking thought, it's like, wait a minute, does this really make sense? Is this backwards? Is this upside down? Is there a piece that I'm missing?
Yep.
Right? So the more you expose yourself to different ways of being and different ways of understanding, the more you grow your territory.
Yes, you do.
That's what I got to say.
And all of that is tied to this central nervous system.
Yeah. That little amoeba.
See? Isn't that phenomenal? That's phenomenal, though.
Well, we don't think about it that way.
We don't think about it that way, Denise, and we don't understand how phenomenal we are. Everything you just said happens in milliseconds with what we just shared with them in this central nervous system. So what else did you want to talk about? Because this is, all right.
I want to do a light show.
Uh-oh. So you want to show them what it looks like?
I want to, yes, what we look like on the inside with all of those electronic impulses that send messages.
You want to look at this one?
I don't care. This is what we look like on the inside. Excuse the people there in the background, but I went to a tech house exhibit in DC last November, and the name of the exhibit was The Life of the Neuron. Right? And this was in the main room. I mean, these technology geniuses created all of this stuff artistically and presented it as a light show. And all of these neurons were bouncing off of the floor, the wall, the and the ceiling. And so sitting in this room, you see this couple sitting, right? What
I
it
see him.
felt like for me, Darius, was that I was inside my body.
That's a great experience.
You see all these cells and how they're all connected. That's what we look like on the inside.
Yep. And all those little dots,
they connect.
if you want to look at them, the dots are those cells firing and connecting.
And yes.
Yeah. It's a light show.
We are a light show. We're electro. Yeah. We're an electromagnetic force.
Yep. So here, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Now I was gonna say, here's what's happening, Denise. So this picture, right? We see all these things firing. When I touch this pen, and I was talking about the pen and what happens, this is what's happening inside. All these little lights are going off. All these connections are being made. Anything. I hold my water, whatever it is, this is what happens all the time. It's constantly happening.
Yeah. Oh, water bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I picked this up. Oh, cold, right? All of these cells are firing and connecting from the peripheral nervous center, right? They're firing and transmitting a message to our brain to say, oh, cold. Oh, water bottle. Oh, thirst. I mean. So
your brain starts to now put together all these scenarios of what that is, what you do with it, how it helps you, how it benefits you, how it may harm you. We get all of these things that happen unconsciously every single moment, all day. It can be something that we see. It can be something that we touch. It can be something that we hear. If you hear an ambulance or a siren, if you hear a siren, you know it's an ambulance or it's a fire truck based on how it sounds without seeing it. Because now, the very first time that you heard that sound, somebody probably said that's an ambulance. And now what you did was your brain said, let's connect those. Boop, boop, boop. When we hear this, let's connect it to the thought that it's an ambulance. So now every time you hear it, you automatically know what it is. If you hear a helicopter, if you see whatever, you see the water bottle, right? If I see the water bottle, I know typically there's some kind of liquid beverage in there. I already know it because now I create the memory. I create the idea of what that's for. So here's where we got to really look at all of this and how we function day to day. This picture of all these little firing cells going off is happening all the time. And we're connecting this to how we think and how we function and how we activate and move within our life and how we create the narrative of who we are.
No, we're not connecting it. Our body is.
Right.
Can we see another slide? Could we see another picture? I love these cells.
You want the cell? Here's another one.
Yeah. Can you imagine being in a room with all of this stuff floating around you?
And I'm mad that I didn't get to go to that.
Seeing you and how you work on the inside and what you are capable of. That's a damn miracle.
And you are phenomenal. You are phenomenal. You are phenomenally made.
Yeah, and so when Darius tells you that, he's not just whistling Dixie.
No.
He means that. We mean this.
Yes, you are phenomenal.
Yeah, there's another one. Can we show another one?
Yes.
Is there another one? I thought I had a whole, I think I may have sent you 3 or 4. There's one on the very end.
Got that one.
Yeah, that's not a real good one, but this is like a big cell.
Yeah, we're zoomed in on it. I mean, just all
Yeah.
the connections coming off of it. It's just amazing how we're
Yeah.
created.
Yeah.
How
So
we're created is phenomenal.
we just got all of these messages running through our body. I mean, we are
Mhm.
like radio receivers.
Yeah,
Am I talking real loud? I get real excited.
it's all right. You are fine.
I do, but it's like, know that you are a miracle.
Yeah.
Think of
And the fact
yourself
that all
as a
these things that,
baby. Think of
right.
yourself in the womb,
Yeah.
right? Think of yourself as you grow, that central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord growing, and then all of the peripheral nerves are growing out of that central nervous system.
Yep.
So,
Telling you and teaching you about who you are, where you are, and what's going on around you.
damn straight. Don't, I mean, we have to. This is an era of self-awareness.
Mhm.
It's an era of knowing.
Yes. Know that you are a miracle. Know that you are phenomenal. Know
Yep.
that
Yep.
every
Yeah.
second of every day, you are phenomenal. You are a miracle. And stop focusing on these things that do not coincide with the fact that you are a miracle and you are phenomenal.
That's right. That's right.
That's
You
it.
have value.
That's it.
You're a receptor. You're a receiver. Pay attention to what's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't serve you, then don't let it in.
Right.
If it makes your stomach queasy, say, oh, not today. Because I have value. I'm phenomenal. I don't want no poop in my turf.
This is why you have to be aware of your environment and the energy. These receptors that we have, they pick it up.
Right.
So when you feel that, this is why you feel that way. This is why your body has a visceral effect when you're in certain situations or in certain places or around certain people. This is why your body has a visceral effect, because when you get that input from one of these senses, it's firing, it's sending these messages throughout your body, and it's sending messages and it's sending information and data to your organs and saying your stomach needs to be turning because this is not a good space for you. We got to stop ignoring this.
I know. Pay attention, miracles.
You are
You
phenomenally
are a
designed.
miracle. I mean, if we could just begin to really take that in, how much more would we value each other?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
like I said before, we're taught the value based upon external, appearances.
Yep.
Let's de-emphasize that and look at ourselves as this a miraculous creation.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't say it enough.
I
This
know.
right here.
I'm not going to
This is
say it
it.
anymore, Darius, because we'll be
This is
on
it.
this.
You are phenomenal. That's
Yeah.
it.
Powerful, exuberant, a
And if
lightning bolt.
inside, just a
That's
lightning
right.
bolt inside.
Yep. So we've done inside, outside today.
And
I'm
understand
done.
how they affect who you are, what you do. And if we understand, this is one thing I want to leave people with this, Denise. I want to leave you all with this. If we understand exactly who we are, how we're designed, how this miracle happens all the time within us, when we see someone else, we should be excited to find out how is it manifesting in them. And then we will have more concern, we will have more care, we have more empathy for the other person, as opposed to looking at the outside saying that person is a threat to me. No, that person is a lesson to me. I can learn something from that person. So I'm gonna stop there.
Yes.
So understand who you are, guys. You are phenomenal. Dr.
Yeah.
Denise, this was exciting for me. I love it. I hope everybody got it and they can put this together. How, you know, just as far as what happens with them every day. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Guys, again, I tell you all the time, it's a lot. We put a lot in here, unpack this stuff. Go back and watch again.
Yeah.
And Dr. Denise says something that's important. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment, hit the little bell for the notifications when we put out new episodes. So you are phenomenal, Dr. Denise.
Yes. I just want to say, savor the message. Savor it. Take in the words, taste them, play around with them, create mental pictures. You know, I got to do my little flowery talk, but,
That's all right.
but just be with what we are conveying to you. See yourself in a different light. And with that, I am leaving the scene. Ashe, be in power, be a radio receiver, but don't take no crap.
There you go. Be phenomenal, guys. We'll see
All
you on the
right,
next
Miracle.
episode.
All right.